Hey,
girlfriend.
girlfriend.
I'm Jessica Neighbor, co-host,
I'm Flesche Hesh.
and we are girlfriends of a certain age. And today we are talking about your life purpose, our life purpose, and what we can do about that now for our legacy in midlife and younger versus thinking about it when we're on our deathbed and what did we do at that point. We want to make this more of an actionable thing that we can do in our daily life. So that is what we are going to get into. We have some really interesting things for you to think about that may inspire you. And as always, we love it when you want to respond to us. You can hit us up in our Substack, Girlfriends of a Certain Age. Join us there. Let us know your thoughts and feelings on this very intense subject.
Yeah.
So when we talk about life purpose, I mean, I feel like it's like a dun 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 kind of topic. How do you feel about jumping into this today?
Oh, I'm super excited.
Ooh.
Something about turning 50. So I'm 51, y'all. Woot woot. And something around turning 50. And my kids started teasing me. You're halfway to 100. And so out of the mouths of babes, right? And it's
Always.
so sweet. And I realized at a certain point, I'm lucky if I get another 50 years
Indeed.
on this planet, in this body, doing my purpose. And I have been very aware of my life purpose. I think right around the time I got pregnant with my oldest,
Mm-hmm.
I had got some big downloads. I went away
Ooh.
on a writing retreat. I came away with these sheets and sheets of like pregnancy, spiritual awakening, and I got my marching orders. It was
Wow.
very interesting. So it's been something I sit with and think about a lot about what am I here to do?
Mm.
But now that I'm 51
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I don't really know how much time I have left.
Right. None of us do.
I want to enjoy my living legacy now. I don't want to wait until I'm on my deathbed and I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to think about what I did and what I said and who I was with.
Mm-hmm.
I want that to be alive and well right now, today. And there's so much I still want to do. I'm very in love with my life, in love with life in general, and I want it to be purposeful. I don't want it to be willy-nilly or I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens. That's not really how I live my life.
Mm-hmm.
What does it bring up for you?
Well, I love that living legacy idea because I was listening to a talk between a panel, and they were discussing about end of life, and there was a physician present saying that on people's deathbeds, what they talk about more than anything is their relationships.
Yes.
They're not talking about the money in the bank account. They're not talking about their corner office. They're not talking about these supposed, legacy things that we sometimes feel like we've got to somehow come up with. They talk about either the relationships they love, maybe some relationship regrets. That's the true thing that holds on at the last moment of life. And so it's always a reminder to myself of like what is an active legacy is really, I mean, tomorrow is not guaranteed. It's like, what do we do today? How do we live our legacy? How do we stay connected to the people we care about? How do we continue to foster those relationships?
Yeah.
Because that is essentially how we live on, is how we touch other people, right? So for those of us who have like a very, very clear idea of what their life purpose is, for other people who feel like, I don't know, I just feel like a normal person, I don't know, I'm just putting one step in front of the other. I love that idea that it's almost not all about us. It's all about how we impact other people, how they impact us, and that's like really what we take with us.
Yes. And you and I are raising children. So we will model that for them.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah. And I think the other thing that is fun when I think about this topic and life purpose is it's fun to kind of look back. And I think in midlife, it's really an interesting stage where we can look back and now kind of clearly see a path that we were on, but at the
Hmm.
time we didn't realize. So that's the beauty about aging is we do get this wisdom. We're like, oh, I see some cycles. I see some things that I did and that played out in my life time and time again. And that's really fun. And then we still kind of have this big path ahead of us that we can define, but we have more experience now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I find that very empowering. Do you?
Absolutely. Because, I mean, one of the things we talk about a lot over here at Girlfriends of a Certain Age is this recovering good girl,
Yeah.
right? And taking our power back and living on purpose from our own hearts. And when I think about moving forward, I am so not available to tolerate any more garbage.
Oh, no
I
kidding.
have been patient. I have been mindful. I have bitten on a leather strap when I wanted to say something. I held back. I let other people lead. And I'm realizing, I'm done.
Yes.
I'm so done. I have a lot to say, a lot to do, a lot to be, and I don't want to play those games anymore. And they were all games of my own making. That's the worst part. I was doing it to myself. So when I look at
Right.
what is before me, it's like a whole lot of meanness. And that can sound really self-centered and maybe narcissistic. And maybe it is. Maybe it's part of my reaction of swinging from being such a good girl to being like carving out those boundaries. And so I'm trying to have self-awareness around that.
Yeah, I don't hear it that way though.
Oh, good.
No, because I think coming from the place that you came from, right, as I absolutely can feel you on that one, being a recovered people pleaser, it's so easy for us to lose our line in the sand. So it's really important for us to draw that, to know that, to own it. And in a funny way, we're building up a muscle that wasn't defined earlier in life, right? So it needs its own conditioning for where we're coming from. It makes perfect sense.
I love you saying that because I'll often say that to my therapist. And
Uh-huh.
my therapist is like, you're not a narcissist. You know
Right.
this, right?
Right.
But I think being an empath, I have that reaction that, oh, well, if you go too far, then maybe you're getting into the narcissism
Oh,
arena. So I
totally.
do worry about that. So I love you saying that and I like not seeing it that way. So thank you for naming that. But yeah, when I look to the future, I just want to do it in Flesche's style, in my way, right?
Mm.
And I'm not interested in causing harm, and so some people might perceive it that way. That's the other thing. Oh, but you used to do it this way. Now you're doing it that way. That's causing me harm, somebody might say to me. And like, how do I do that and still do my life?
Right, because we have to honor who we are now. And
Yes.
people who have known us for a long time are going to know the many iterations of us.
Yes.
And they might prefer a different one or have you kind of, encapsulated in a certain different time. And so it is important and that's the dance, I think, with relationships is going, hey, I'm growing and I'm seeing things differently now.
Yeah. And I will also say, this is my own anecdotal experience, is that the older women that I know who were truly happy in their lives, this is one of the things they say is what makes them so happy. They don't put up with bullshit from anybody anymore.
No.
They take no mess. They don't take any flack. They just don't do it. And they're not angry about it. They're not resentful. They don't resent the person doing it. That's been really corrective and so healing for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I can dislike somebody or what they're doing and not resent the hell out of them.
Yes.
You do you, or like Mel Robbins says, let them.
Let them, right, which we talked about in our last week's episode, which was so great about good enough and just allowing ourselves to be good enough and letting other people, let them be their full selves. That was the other thing I wanted to bring up today about legacy and, which in a funny way also, like the whole topic feels like it could be viewed as this narcissistic thing, right? Of like our legacy, we're talking about it, but no, we are, because the feeling around living a full, complicated life that isn't cookie cutter, where we are both honoring our highest, intentions and highest goals, but also admitting to some past mistakes and things. Like, I just want to be a human who can do that. And it's funny, my brain went to our own country, the United States of America. That's what I want for our country. I want that for our country. We are this beautiful place. We in the Bay Area, it is a beautiful place, but there's all of this underlying conflict, and we see that until we can fully own up to our country's complicated legacy, there's always going to be that battle. And we see it playing out so much right now between the people who are being like idealistic about, oh, the way it was all perfect. And then there's a whole lot of people who are like, perfect for who? So admitting the complicated past, because anything that lives long enough is going to be complicated,
Yes.
including ourselves, and really having the grace and the humiliation to own up to the good and the bad.
Right, that both things are true.
Both things exist, and like that's what I want to show my kids and future generations too, is like we're doing our stuff, we're, you know, we know ourselves now, but does that mean we're not going to make mistakes and be human? No, that's part of it, and we should almost expect that to be. So I think sometimes when I think about legacy or life purpose, it's like for some reason it triggers that perfectionist thing. It's like, oh no, it'll be messy and complicated
Oh,
too.
yes, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's important for you? What are you calling in terms of what seeds you want to plant for your
Yeah.
legacy? What is Jessica's vision from today, knowing it will
Yeah.
change and grow and expand and
Yeah, well, I feel like, I mean, I've always been centered on the voice, right? So whether it was acting through theater, singing as a vocalist, public speaking and coaching people on that. Now I'm doing musical improv, and now I'm even working on another writing project. It's all about sharing a story. So there's a beautiful line from Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda's beautiful musical, and the line of the song says, "Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?"
oh.
And that's really what I'm feeling like now is I want to tell my story, and it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be literally a book, but I want to be speaking my own words. I want to be saying the things and having my own opinions and like writing my own story. Again, as messy and imperfect as that is, perfectionist trigger, because that is how I will be known. That is how I will connect with other people. And so the more real and authentic I can be in my journey versus, oh, I should do this at this age and I should do this, but I'm like really disconnected from the experience, the more I can just like settle in and be present in my own story, I feel like is like a real gift of legacy. And I also love the idea, you know, like it's a camping metaphor, but the idea that we leave no trace and that we leave a place better than when we went to it. I would love that somehow, some way to do something to help people, to help our planet, just to do a little something so that I just feel like I did my part.
I mean, that's honestly how I see you living your life already.
Oh, thank you.
I mean,
Thank you, Flesche.
I've known you a good long while now, and that is how I see you living your life. So the idea that you would do that even more, that you would double down on that,
Yeah.
plus erasing any bad habits you're bringing from your past
Right.
of people pleasing and perfectionism,
Yeah.
allowing for messiness.
Yes.
Right?
It's gonna get messy.
It's going to get messy. And that it's all of it. And that you're awake and aware at the wheel of your life. That is what I think is the most important thing. Because of course we can take a wrong turn and we do need to back up and redirect ourselves. That is part of it. So I really I have a lot of respect for your self-awareness and the heart and intention and what you've already laid down for us. I mean, right behind you, I see your first book, and it's like, so I know what you can do. I know what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And I know where you're going. And so I'm so honored to be on that journey with you and
Yeah.
to see what is next. What's next?
Well, and that's it. I don't want to do this journey alone. I need people like you. I need my community, right? Because I think to really live a good life and to tell a good story, we need community.
Yes.
None of this lone wolf stuff. That is a myth that never worked.
It never
for us. But now more than ever, we realize that.
Right.
We
Well, it
realize
makes me
that.
feel very emotional, like knowing that I do have you on this journey and all the other women I have on this journey too, because I've just been collecting my ladies and they're collecting me too.
So important.
I feel this. Just this morning, I was on a walk with a new mom buddy at my kid's school, and I could just feel this like, oh, this heart tugging toward her a little bit. And I felt hers a little bit toward mine. I was just like, yes, this is what I want and
Yeah.
how I want to be. And
Yeah.
so it's so important. It is
Yes.
so important, I think, for girlfriends to also be with that communal piece, that community, to spend time with people who are living a life that you respect and admire,
Yes.
right?
Call
Because
those people in. Seek them out.
right, and
Yes.
if you don't have them, there aren't people in your life who are pushing themselves and staying awake and aware at the wheel of their lives. Get online, join our Substack, come, because our community we are very much a community of like-minded women coming together to celebrate even the aches and the pains and the messy parts and the uncomfortable parts of middle age and beyond.
And we know how impactful we can be, even if the culture, as we've discussed, doesn't always make it seem that way, right? Like, where are the older women? We know, we see them everywhere, but they're not always celebrated in the same way. Or there may be like a token one. Like, it makes me think of like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was fantastic, but it was like everyone kind of loved her and she became this icon of sorts. But it's like there's a whole bunch of Ruths out there and all different kinds of people. So I think it's important for us. I don't think it's always reflected back, and that's why in our community we need to reflect that back. I love that.
Absolutely.
Right? It's so true. Well, what about for you? So you gave us just a little taste of how you got this powerful download of what your life purpose is around spirituality and motherhood. But what do you have, like a specific thing that you can say on that more?
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Great.
it's about empowerment and inspiring women.
Ooh.
And so what I was told was it would start with the mothers. So start with the moms, and then that I would know when it's time to open that up. And I can't help but think that doing this podcast with you is the start of that opening up, and it was happening without me even noticing.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
It is. And this feels so important to us. This meeting and knowing that we're in community. Every time we're talking, we're like really talking with our listeners in mind, just like, more of our like-minded people listening, because we want it to be an empowerment.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, the culture is not where it needs to be to support us
No.
in our fabulousness
No.
and at this stage of life and beyond.
Right.
And then all of our aunties and grandmas and great grandmas who came before us, who are also not getting that,
No.
right?
Right.
Every woman deserves to be seen and honored and celebrated with her people.
And I think the message forever was, well, your legacy is your children, which is
Women are told that, yes.
exactly, which is accurate to a point.
To a point.
But we also realize they are separate people, and we are still totally valid and important all throughout our life. That's only a piece of our legacy, and for many women, it's not their legacy at all.
Exactly.
And that's absolutely fine as well. So there's a lot that we're now feeling into, a big shift, and we see it playing out, but I think there needs to be a concerted effort to talk about these kinds of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I just feel called to remind our girlfriends to go befriend an older girlfriend. But if you have a neighbor or a relative you haven't been in touch with, somebody who makes you feel good, not someone who's like judgy and difficult and a pain in the butt, but somebody who you actually just feel good when you're around. I would bet you money that you would be just piercing the bubble that is this amazingness of this woman's magic and wisdom that may not have anywhere to go.
Oh, I love that, to kind of honor them. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing to do. Yeah.
My oldest girlfriend is turning 90
Woo!
in June, and I'm going to go celebrate with her. And I just, we're not related. We genuinely are friends. And so there's this beautiful I just feel this beautiful through line, in her own life. I
Mm,
feel like she's reaching out to me, I'm reaching out to her, and we have the sweetest friendship.
mm,
And so I don't know. I felt called to remind all of us to do that more, because I
mhm.
just think there's a lot of untapped and unspoken love and appreciation and admiration. And what could we all be learning from our elders?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so lucky to have my mom, and I have so many
Hmm.
beautiful elder women in my life. And so, I just really I want everyone to have that.
I think of my mom and my aunts and my cousins, both in my family and my husband's family. I just feel as I get older, it's more important to be with them and to check in with them and to know that we have each other's back. It's
Yes.
just, it's really, really important, you know?
In a way,
So,
there's kind of nothing else.
mm-hmm,
And, statistically, women live longer than our
mm-hmm.
male spouses. And so I think too, when we get more advanced in age, it really is what I see is like it's the girlfriends.
Well, yeah, when they do those happiness, research things, they find that one of the biggest indicators of being happier is having community,
Yes.
not being isolated, right? We know that there is a loneliness epidemic for older people, but people who are more tapped into community are absolutely more happy, and so it's important on many levels for us
Yeah.
to maintain it.
Yeah.
So I think that's such a good reminder too, because just maybe ask yourself, here's a couple of fun little prompts. Ask yourself when you first think of legacy or life purpose, what kind of comes to mind, right? Like it could be something that's just something we've downloaded from movies and things, right? Like, oh, I should have inheritance, or I should have, I don't know, whatever is built up.
I think a book, a lot of people have,
Mm,
I mean, there's research that almost every person on earth feels like every adult feels like they have a book inside of them. So
mm-hmm.
even if you don't publish it, write the darn thing.
Yeah, yeah, you could write that thing. Right. And also, though, ask yourself what are more of the external things that you feel like you should have as
Oh,
your purpose, and then what are the things that you're really calling in, right?
right.
And then this is another prompt. What if it were the end of your life? What if you had that foresight? What would you be happy about? What would you regret not doing? And then see if you can kind of point your life in the direction where you can actually be doing those things.
Ooh, I just got chills. The good kind.
The good kind, right? What if you're sitting there going, oh God, I didn't get to do blank, or I didn't get to talk to blank.
Yeah, I think that's really valid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that so many people hear the phrase life purpose and they don't even know where to begin. Not everyone gets a big download clunk on the head like I got when I was pregnant. But I think a lot of people tie their life purpose to their work or their career.
Oh,
And so
definitely.
I definitely think that's important to separate those two buckets.
Yeah.
Some people are lucky enough to do that,
Hmm.
and others really need the balance of having them be very separate. So I don't want girlfriends to be putting any pressure on themselves that
Yes.
has to be like you have to change your work to go and feed people like
Oh, no.
maybe you feel called to do that, but life purpose is usually different. And for me, life purpose is what and who you are and how you're being.
It could be like wishing you could have more, time to do ballroom dancing. Like it could be whatever that is. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a big life change, big shift or anything like that. Also, there's so many people who might be a Jill of all trades,
Mm,
right? Or there's lots of creative people where you might do something creatively just for yourself, but it's never been something that's like a financial gain. But that's going to be part of your fun purpose. But I agree with you. I think that we have, the celebrity culture and this kind of all or nothing culture. Like, well, you have to be the best in order to have that be your purpose.
aw.
No, you can absolutely do a lot of things, and that will all weave in. Because when I think, even, sorry, this sounds a little morose, but when I think about a eulogy, it's really interesting to hear about people who were multifaceted
Mm,
and the different people they touched, the different relationships they had, different things they were into that it might be quiet, Oh, I remember, baking with this person. Oh, well, I remember they could really cuss and swear like a sailor, but like letting people in to whatever it is that you do, either on a very small scale or a large scale, I think
Mm.
is part of how we make memories and connections with one another. Does that make sense?
It does. Are you saying that you recommend that we write our own eulogies and like what would?
Oh my God, no, I wasn't going there. I
Oh,
was thinking more in the idea that when I've been to people's funerals and heard eulogies, it's always interesting. It's always interesting when you get some surprises
mm,
of different things that people did, different relationships they had, and you bring all these people from all these different walks of life together, and then you learn about, well, they were part of this coffee club, and oh well, we were young moms together. Oh well, we went to law school together. Whatever thing, and then you learn so much more about these people from the different stages and things they did. And I think that's like what I mean by a life well lived is it doesn't have to be some great achievement. It's just making connections at every step of the way
mm.
so that if there is a eulogy that defines you, I don't know, there's a lot of different connections to it. Does that
Mm,
make sense?
that does make sense.
You could write your own eulogy. That's another
It,
interesting
it is.
idea.
It is an interesting idea. I'd probably recommend doing that with the support of like a therapist
I
or
know,
a
I was
coach.
not known, yeah.
But, I think, I mean, I know I would feel comfortable and safe doing that on my own, but I think our culture is so wonky and backwards about death
Yeah.
and wrapping up our lives. And so this might even be another topic for us to take on at some point, but I'm realizing this is so uniquely tied to that.
Yeah.
And so I think some people will use this idea of like life purpose and legacy to like push away from death or push away from the
Oh,
end of their lives. Well, I better
interesting.
jump out of airplanes and I better go have more casual sex or whatever, whatever the thing is that people hold
Right.
themselves back from doing that they go and do to stave off that fear of the end. Oh, I'm
Interesting.
just getting that. Yeah, I'm just getting that hit just now.
Yeah.
But I think there's something about integrating, knowing that our lives are bookended. They
Mm.
just are.
Yeah.
And we live in that space in between. That's the play space.
That is the play space. That
Mm.
is who, and again, I'll just that lyric comes up, who lives, who dies, who tells your story. Let yourself be the one who tells your story, right?
Mm.
Have agency.
Have agency.
And we're fortunate and that we have agency. Like a lot of people don't.
It's
So
true.
what are we going to do with that?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Oh, this was so juicy and
Woo!
so good. And
Yeah.
it was more than
It was more.
we went there, but I guess you and I just, we
We
can't help ourselves.
Sorry, we are not the small talk, casual talker people. You
No,
know us by now. If you listen to any of our other episodes, you know
we don't hold back.
we don't hold back.
Yeah. Well, I am so honored to be on this journey with you. I'm so honored to be on this journey with you.
Mm.
Girlfriend, join us on Substack, like and share this episode, buy some swag
Ooh,
and look
yes.
like us. And we just love you so much. We want to empower you. We've got the journal prompts are down below this episode.
Mm.
Read through them. There's more than what we said here because we were running out of
Mm.
time. So we want to be on this journey with you. We love you. We respect you. We admire you. And we want to see what you're doing next. What are you going to do in between your bookends?
Ah, between your beautiful bookends. Ah, well, on that lovely note, until next time,
Till next
bye,
time.
girlfriend.
Bye.